Let's
Welcome
go.
to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Absolutely phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal, experts from all over the globe with incredible backgrounds, and they've turned around and they're helping other folks. Generally speaking, they could be psychiatrists, healers, doctors, Delta Force operator, the youngest who ever joined, a White House doctor, New York Times bestsellers, you name it, all walks of life, CNBC anchor, Good Morning America reporter. I'm not kidding. A lot of diversity, probably 20 countries by now. And speaking of another country from Canada, from Toronto, we just have an incredibly focused and an incredibly giving guest, Brent Spirit, who has a lot of, we can say intuitive talent, but we'll just say listens to the universe, pays attention. He's got an incredible show. And he's got incredible offerings on his website. So check out brentspirit.com. But I wanted to make sure you heard at the beginning, he's got 3 free programs. That's 3+ hours of support for you in 3 areas, helping you kind of unleash your inner mystic because you already have all the skills within. A no nonsense grounding guide. We all need grounding. Too much work, too much family, too much overload. How do you slow way down, say, whoa, Nelly, and get back into that big heart of yours? And finally, manifesting our abundance. We all need more of that. That's just called going with the force or the flow in life, or letting the universe come in and do its job. Brent, I'd like to welcome you to Angels, Positivity, and Love. I've only had a chance to interact with you for a short time before the show, but I can tell you I'm already a fan.
Michael, thanks so much for inviting me on the show. And our brief interaction before the show was absolutely incredible. I'm feeling really good.
That's good. And we didn't get anything on tape, so you're off the hook. Hey, tell us a little bit about how did you get into all this? How did you pay attention to the universe? And finally, how big is the universe? Is it bigger than we think it is?
Well, there's some great questions. How big is the universe? I would say that, it's immeasurable and it's constantly expanding. And it, it- that expansion is occurring within our human physical form as well, within our consciousness, within our psyche, our spirit, and all those dimensions as well. And so that's how I got into all of this was I began to orient myself around growth. I remember I had this key moment in high school where I realized that my grades weren't the only determining factor of my, success or growth in life. And I thought there's other dimensions I could grow. So I got involved in self-help in general, trying to relieve anxiety, depression. And of course, within self-help, you find your way over to this meditation thing, this mindfulness thing. And so I began exploring that a little bit, and that's when I began to experience some pretty powerful energetic phenomena in the body. Um, I would call it a Kundalini awakening process. That's the way that I like to conceptualize the spiritual awakening journey as the centerpiece that I like to put on my table is that this is all based around the Kundalini awakening journey. And so very young, in my teenage years, I began to go through a Kundalini awakening process after beginning meditation. I had no idea what any of that was. I was very innocent, just trying to feel a little better, calm my mind down and whatnot. And I guess the universe said, "Oh, here's a guy who we're gonna, light him up a bit more than he's asking for." And so I went on a pretty intense journey of all sorts of energetic phenomena, emotional, psychological purification, significant expansions of consciousness, um, tapping in with this ever expanding universe and recognizing that I'm not separate from it, and nobody's separate from it. We're all interconnected and part of that ongoing expansion. And so now today, my work is supporting others that are going through a similar journey to what I went through, similar challenges around themes to do with, of course, like I said, Kundalini awakening, spiritual emergency, or spiritual emergence, STE, spiritually transformative experiences. I support people that are having issues, with integration around some of their spiritual experiences, sometimes induced by psychedelics, by breath work, by meditation, sometimes quote unquote spontaneously. There's many people who have sort of spiritual experiences and they didn't really do anything consciously to try and induce them. It kind of happens to them seemingly out of nowhere. But for most people, if we do a bit of investigation into their past, we see that there's a lot of a lot of clues and hints, demonstrating that they're on a sort of spiritual journey. But anyway, my aim is to sort of bring all of that far out stuff and present it in a way that the average person who may not have ever been looking for any of this can make sense of it. I like to empathize with people and say, hey, I know this all sounds absolutely insane, Kundalini awakening, experiencing clairaudience or clairsentience or clairvoyance and all of these types of gifts and skills and these interesting sort of synchronicities. I know it all sounds absolutely insane, but let's unpack it in a grounded way and make sense of it together. So that's my work, and I am really passionate about raising awareness about Kundalini in general, because that process can be very, very difficult for a lot of people. And that difficulty can often be invalidated by, the right people that we're told to go to for help. So our friends, our family, our doctors, our therapists, they may not understand anything about Kundalini, and often they are inclined to say, hey, that's probably not real and there's probably something wrong. But I don't buy that at all. I think Kundalini process is absolutely very real. I think it's at the heart of all spiritual traditions and spiritual transformation. And so I have a website called kundaliniawareness.org, in which I have put together a directory of licensed mental health professionals with Kundalini experience that are available to offer validation and support for those struggling with that sort of theme in their life. As well as a collection of stories submitted by experiencers that say, hey, this is my Kundalini awakening story. And they're all very different because the journey is very different for everybody. And so that's a bit about, my work and how I got involved with, expanding along with the universe that's always expanding. So thanks for a great question to kick it off.
Brent, beautiful. And I forgot before the show to do this as the backdrop for seeing some light, some energy on your fingers. In India, I think they do it this way. We'll maybe do a little Kundalini playing around later on the show. Again, if we can remember, if we remember, when we remember, your show. You've got actually, I think it might be two offerings, but for sure it's the Spiritual Awakening show. And you've had some pretty big names on, and also you give talks. Could you take us through the Spiritual Awakening show? I think it's a little bit more tailored, again, to make people feel comfortable about this, to help people explore the topic, but also through the words of others. Talk to us about the show.
Yeah, so I host the Spiritual Awakening show. Not a very creative title, but I'm a very simple guy, straight. I try to be to the point, so that's why I call it the Spiritual Awakening show, and that's what we talk about. Like I said, the centerpiece for me is Kundalini. However, I know that there are many who have gone through a very profound, significant spiritual awakening who don't put too much emphasis on this word or theme of Kundalini, and it's still a very valid experience. But for me, I like that word. I like the yoga traditions, and it seems to be a word that's gaining a little bit more momentum in our culture. So I like to lean into it and talk about Kundalini. I host people from all over, but I like to host especially those that are working in the space of supporting others with Kundalini awakening. So I have guests on to talk about their experiences. Some of them have had near-death experiences that have, triggered their Kundalini awakenings. Some of them have been doing this work for a long time as therapists, as healers, and so I like to say I'm not the final word on this. I share my thoughts, but I'm just one guy figuring it out, starting some conversations. And so I invite others to share and we compare notes. And it seems that what we're finding across all of the conversations that I've been having is that there's some universal themes, but then there's, of course, very individualized, specific experiences that are very unique to each person. And so it's so exciting because everyone has, just their own very trippy experience. Some people don't have a really trippy experience, which makes it interesting in itself. They have a very gradual, gentle experience. They don't have any, thing too far out, but still having very significant expansions of consciousness, spontaneous healings, finding themselves more present, more open-hearted, more creative, more inspired, more in touch. And so these are all the things that we unpack on the Spiritual Awakening show. And of course, Michael, you're invited on. I would love to have one of those conversations with you to see what we can uncover.
Yes. And now talking about Kundalini awakening or just Kundalini, can you take a moment and go through either the classic definition or tailor it a little bit how you've been learning over time? Because everything's always expanding and changing. I think definitions even are included in that. What's Kundalini all about?
Of course, yeah. So definitely, the term itself can be interpreted in many different ways. I'm sure there are many scholars and pundits of the ancient Sanskrit material that can unpack its etymology and its the ways that it was used and all of that sort of thing. And I think that's all great. But for me, I'm very practical. So I get people that come to me saying, "Hey, I did some psychedelics," or "Hey, I did a breath work," and suddenly I'm having all sorts of strange things happening to me in my body. And I would say, okay, so it seems that there is an intelligent force within this human system that facilitates the transformation of consciousness, that facilitates the awakening process, that facilitates the movement of an individual from being just a mundane physical human being to being a more spiritual human being. So that intelligence, that force, I would call Kundalini. Traditionally, it's depicted as a coiled snake at the base of the spine, which once awakened traditionally through sort of yogic practices, breathwork meditation, intense prayer, devotion, this energy, this snake force can begin to uncoil and move up the spinal column, moving through each chakra, clearing, activating, lighting them up, eventually making its way to the top of the head, where an individual, realizes the divine, realizes the self, feels deep sense of interconnectedness with all that is. And along the way, all sorts of interesting things can happen. So that's the traditional sort of very boiled down description of Kundalini. But like I said, it's very individualized. So we're having people having experiences where they're having things not beginning at the base of the spine upwards, but they're having more expansions in the head and then progressively moving into the body. There are people that are having, they can't pinpoint exactly where this process began to unfold within their body. They just say, my whole body is vibrating. My whole body feels like I'm got this juice flowing through it, this Shakti, this energy flowing through it. Many people describe it, the process beginning from the feet upwards. So in general, I like to boil it down to say that this is a process, a Kundalini awakening process. And it's orchestrated by this intelligent force. And it's very important that we describe it as intelligent and not see it as impersonal. So it's intelligent in the sense that it knows what it's doing. It knows how to move through the system in a way that is safe, that is honoring of the individual, of the pace at which they need to go through their journey. It can be cooperated with. You can collaborate with it. You can communicate with it. And it's your body. It's not separate from you. It's you. It's your body. It's your mind. It's your spirit. But it's also God. It's also the divine mother, Shakti, the divine mother, the divine feminine. And some don't like to relate with the divine feminine. It's also God the Father. It's just the divine in whatever way you would like to think about it, but it's that divine force moving through us. So within some of the Western traditions, within Christianity, some may refer to this as the Holy Spirit. The yogis refer to it as the Kundalini, right? In mystical Judaism, Kabbalah, it's referred to as the Shekinah, the indwelling of God within the human system. So all of these traditions around the world have their own sense and depiction of this intelligent force that facilitates the spiritual awakening process. So I would say spiritual awakening is not just a shift in the belief or philosophical understanding or a shift in perspective. It's also a shift in the nervous system itself, the shift in the entire body, head to toe in the nervous system, and all of the chakras. So that's a little bit of a sort of a rambling take on Kundalini. Yeah.
It was really good, but it's fair to say it's getting out of thinking into the heart, into the body, into the rainbow body, if you wanted to go
Yeah.
a little, yeah. Okay, where have you had that as an experience, along your trek, your journey? Has there been a vision, eyes open, eyes closed, lucid dream, dream time at night? Is there something you can share that was really big picture-ish?
Yeah, definitely. So I've had many experiences of this force of Kundalini moving through my system, and all of these experiences were, quite different, and they all served different purposes at different points along my journey. So it first began, like I mentioned, I was a young teenager just exploring self-help, trying to overcome depression, anxiety. I hear about this thing called meditation. So I say, okay, I'll try this. I sat down on my couch, I closed my eyes, and I turned inward for the first time, and suddenly my spine just started kind of going like this. My neck was bending back and forth as if something was moving in my body. Something was controlling my body involuntarily. It was moving spontaneously. So I thought I was trying to stop it. I couldn't stop it until I opened my eyes and came out of this meditation. And I said, whoa, that was weird. What the heck was that? Like something was, controlling my body. I thought maybe I was possessed or something. But I was a young kid, very innocent. I just said that was weird. Anyway, I went back to, playing video games or whatever. I didn't take much note of it. Um, but that began this process. That brief moment of turning inwards was enough for me. Now, for some, perhaps they need to spend much more time in meditation. For others, they don't need to spend much time in meditation at all. Just going to sleep is enough when they kind of relax their system and it calms the system down enough for this process to begin to move through them. But for me, it was just that brief moment. So I thought that was a little weird. I don't feel like meditating anymore. That was strange. I didn't have anybody to ask about this. I didn't have any inclination to Google it. It was just like not really a key event. But then afterwards, I began still being drawn very deeply towards the East, traditions of yoga, Buddhism. I eventually learned how to meditate more after a few years. I sat down still in meditation and went very, very deep. And shortly after that, I experienced a major expansion of consciousness in my head. Um, my mind, it almost like my mind went from being very compact to being just spread out, and it was like there was much more space between thoughts, and I could see uh, that I could begin to witness the mind, the emotions, the body from a very much more expanded place. And so there was this energetic component with that as well, where it felt like energy was pouring into my head. So like I described earlier, some people have the downward flow of energy with their Kundalini awakening. So I had a sort of experience like that. Once again, I still didn't know about Kundalini. I was exploring yoga, but in particular Advaita Vedanta. So they don't talk too much about the energetic flow of consciousness. They don't talk too much about Shakti of Kundalini. It is there, but you've got to look. I was also exploring Neo-Advaita and non-duality, and once again, they don't talk too much about this energetic component of the process. I was also exploring Buddhism. Once again, they don't talk about it much. And so I didn't have any real context for these energetic experiences I was having. Even in Zen Buddhism, they didn't address it. And so these are the areas I was exploring, and they were triggering these awakenings in me, but they didn't provide context or an explanation. So that was very confusing for me. So that's also part of why I'm here now, doing this work to raise awareness and saying, hey, non-duality, if you explore that, it can trigger these energetic openings. Zen Buddhism can trigger these energetic openings, right? You go on a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, it can trigger these energetic openings, and they may not have a word for you about what's happening. And so I'm here to say, hey, it's a real thing. You're not going crazy. You're not broken. And then I try and normalize it for people and offer some validation and empathy and insight, which is hard to find. Typically in the past, the insight was available, but you would have to go to a teacher and speak, in a very secret sort of environment, or the information was encoded in very metaphorical and symbolic text that needed to be interpreted and commented on by, a wise guru who knew. So now it's very hard to find that information. So I'm kind of blowing the lid on it in a sense. I'm not the only one. There's many others, but that's my mission. But anyway, that was a couple experiences I had. Then at 23, I was exploring magic mushrooms, and I had this meditation practice, which I learned from Matt Kahn. He's one of my favorite spiritual teachers, Matt Kahn. Incredible. I keep my hands on my heart, and I would just say, I love you, over and over with each breath, just holding myself, loving every thought, emotion, feeling in my body, head to toe. I love you, I love you, I love you. And with the power of the mushrooms, it was just an incredible experience. And suddenly, from the base of my spine, I could only describe it as if a freight train, a bullet train, conducted by the Divine Mother. The love drunk Divine Mother was conducting this freight train that blasted through the tiniest shaft in my spinal column, just completely busted through from all the way from the base all the way up to the top of my head and out. And it was like just completely orgasmic. My spine jerked backwards, and I left my body, and I was out in this very expansive transcendental place. There was, no body anymore, no sense of Brent, just a total connection with the divine. But even in that moment, there were no words describing it, no thoughts describing it, just a feeling. Anyway, after some unknown amount of time, I returned back into the body, and I thought, what the hell was that? That was really intense. Um, Everything around me, I could perceive. It was like I was connected to all of it. And mind you, I acknowledge I'm on mushrooms, so some could say, that was just crazy drug trip. But the next day, I'm sober, but still I'm feeling very strange, very unusual. And the oneness experience began to shift into incredible anxiety, incredible ungroundedness, lightheadedness, tension in my body, just like very confused, very frazzled, very unstable emotionally, energetically. And I didn't know what happened, but I knew from that point something was different. So I spent the next couple weeks just like very unstable, didn't really know what was going on with me. And eventually I described the experience to somebody and they said, "Oh, this sounds like Kundalini awakening. Ram Dass spoke about a similar experience in this podcast. Why don't you listen to this podcast?" And I thought, oh my gosh, Kundalini awakening. That's what happened to me. I knew about Kundalini, but I hadn't connected the dots that's what I had experienced. And so eventually I said, okay, that's what I experienced. And so I listened to that talk by Ram Dass. For those interested, it's called The Promises and Pitfalls of the Spiritual Awakening Path, something like that. He doesn't talk about it too much, but he talks about it enough for me to say, okay, I understand what's happening now. And so then I began to do more research and develop my understanding to, like I said, collaborate and cooperate with this intelligent force that was trying now to purify me. And so I went into a deep sort of dark night of the soul for the next 6 months, purging, clearing past life memories, memories from childhood, shaking, convulsing, nightmares, all this sort of stuff was happening. All of the content that, we want to release was coming up to be released, but I didn't have much say in, you know, uh, um, in how intense it was. It was just coming up. And fortunately, I had my practice, like I shared that, I learned from Matt Kahn. I just held myself, said, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love every thought, emotion, feeling, sensation. I love the part of me that doesn't want to do this. I love the part of me that's scared. I love the part of me that thinks I'm gone crazy. I loved all of it. And that's how I was able to clear. And I found my nervous system becoming more and more relaxed, more and more oneness. The state of oneness was becoming more and more stable. Like you said, moving into the heart was becoming more of a stable experience. Rather than being intermittent, it became more and more stable. And over time, over the next year, I recognized, I found myself in a state of being able to say, I think I'm out of the dark here. I think I've reached a new threshold on my journey where I don't have to feel that everything is a big mess. I think that I've come out on the other side to some degree. And so that was when I sort of just worked on getting grounded again. Um, I became very creative. I established a business as a photographer, as an artist, which is something I never would have imagined doing. That was all inspired by this transformation. And then after that, I began receiving some inclinations, some impulses to begin to share. And I think I can be open with you, Michael. Sometimes I'm a little reluctant to speak about this, but I had one experience in meditation where I had another major Kundalini rising, and then I found myself in the presence of the Pleiadians. And the Pleiadians had given me a mission to support others going through a spiritual awakening journey. And they said, "Do you accept the mission?" And I said, Okay, I accept it." After a bit of back and forth, going over the exact terms of the agreement, they made it very easy for me, very easy. They eventually just said, "All you have to do is show up. We'll take care of the rest." I said, "Okay. And if this doesn't work out, it's not my fault. I didn't ask to do this. You came to me." And they said, "Of course." So I just show up. And now around this work that I do, podcast emerged, great people like you invited me on your show to share. It just kind of takes a life of its own, and I'm just showing up. And so now I support people that are going through Kundalini awakening and tell my story, but also like to give people a chance to tell their story because it's not a lot of people we can talk to about this. It's so far out. It's so far out, and just telling our stories is a very healing thing too. So that's what I like to do.
I think it's happening a little more than we realize, and there's more consciousness flowing in than we realize. Love is love, details are details. We got to talk details in the show, and I have to say, you're approaching this in such a unique way because here I love Joe Shu. People can meet Joe Shu. Let's say if I said it right, I mispronounce everything. The point on this is, I never even occurred to me that they're not talking about light or Kundalini or the chakras in any way when you're looking at a translation, of Joe Shu from, I'm going to get the wrong AD or BC, but 765 BC or AD. The point of this is absolutely. And I want to jump to a couple things concerning seeing physical light. First, just you on your personal body or seeing auras on others, but then I want to take it to the Buddhist transmission. Remember, whether it was the leaf sermon or the flower sermon, a monk holds up And then one person in the audience just gets it. It's beyond words. Can you take us through the physical seeing of energy, not necessarily mind's eye, eyes closed, lucid dream, or more, the other physical seeing energy? That has happened a bunch for you as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. Not super consistent. I don't like to identify myself as clairvoyant because I've encountered people who are much more clairvoyant than I am. But there are key moments where I do see um, energy. Sometimes I'll get flashes of some sort of archetype. Sometimes I may see within my body as well, energetic phenomena, chakras, things like that. What I've found in general is that um, the information is out there, the energetic information. And what I found is that the more our consciousness expands, we begin to interpret that information through our visual sense, and now we can see it. So if that wasn't clear, perhaps like, you know, many people may be somewhat sensitive to another's mood. They say, I think they're a little happy, they're a little sad. So the more sensitive we become, that information of their mood begins to kind of spill over, and now we can interpret it with our visual sense. We can actually see it. So that's what I think is going on there. Um, so it is something that happens to some people as they go through this process, but I found that it's not for everybody. And one way that I like to structure almost all of the phenomena we experience on this path is that if we look at it through a lens of service, so we're not trying to develop like clairvoyance just for fun. We're trying to develop it if it's necessary for us to fulfill our mission of being of service. So some may say, I don't get to see auras. Why? That's not fair. Well, maybe it's just not part of your mission, right? It's not relevant to you. Whereas someone else is part of their mission, is how they're meant to serve, and that's why they can. And so if we orient our life around service and we kind of look at our life, what are our skills already? What are we kind of meant to do? Then we see, okay, if you're, somebody that works very closely with people, and maybe you're just a great you're there to really hold space, have an open heart, and listen, and you don't need to see their energy or their aura. Where somebody says, I'm a healer, I work in acupuncture, I work in massage, well, then maybe you have to see their aura and it serves you in some way. So that's how I like to kind of ease those people who may be feeling frustrated that they're not getting all sorts of special powers and whatnot. It's not for everybody, and for some it can be super overwhelming too. They're seeing things that they don't want to see, they don't know what to do with what they're seeing. So it's not fun for everybody. Some people are really challenged by it.
I love that. And I'll add, maybe we're all seeing it, but we're blocking it out, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a constant. And I'll add one other dimension for food for thought, or you can bring this up later if we can remember to come back to it. Imagine what happens if everybody woke up tomorrow seeing everybody's light, dogs, trees, people. And now if somebody told a lie, you're like, where'd the energy go? It's not pretty rainbow light or certain colors anymore. It's just like dimmer. And you're like,
Hmm.
wow, maybe that person didn't speak their heart. They spoke something else. It would change the face of real estate. You can never make a bad deal again, at least immediately. You're not working with crooks. You chose the right partners. It would be a game changer for how humans flow, and pretty quickly.
Right.
So that we didn't have to do as much paying attention, listening consciously. We would just automatically slipstream in with a little more light. With that, I'll blow you a little bit of sage. We did this before the show, so we know it works. It's kind of a staple on the show for folks at home just coming in for the first time. This is no big deal. It's like there's no time and space, and there's no two screens. So you're in Germany, New Zealand, it's 2030. We've gotten 16 million views and about 200,000 likes for Brent right now. Let that be. So hit the like button, just start that up. I'm going to light some sage. Give yourself permission to let go. Ask the universe, angels, loving beings, love itself, consciousness. You got to use your words like Brent was saying earlier so you're comfortable. But Brent, are you ready? I'm going to blow some sage to you. Is this cool?
Ready, yeah.
Yeah. So to Ontario from Texas. Oh, sorry, Toronto. I was going to do that. I knew I was going to say that the wrong way. To Toronto from Texas with love. I'm lighting a little bit of sage. Some people who are hypersensitive start tasting it, and I don't have any smoke yet. Now we got smoke. And a red-tailed hawk feather, a little bit of whoosh. And Brent, are you already getting it?
Oh yeah.
Blame Canada. Okay, and then if anybody wants to get flowers on top of it and even ocean smell, I'm like, why settle for linear and just words when you can have your cake and eat it too? no calories in the cake. And every cake equals a smile. Okay, doesn't have to make sense. All right, I'm going to stub this out. I'll do my energy. And if you want to see yours on your hand, you can. I usually forget to do this in a lot of the shows, but folks at home, same deal. You're safe at home watching this. And all you have to do is let go a little, and your heart's already there. And by that, I mean you're doing the Zen thing, because you're really good for bringing up Zen. Seeing without seeing. So I've got a typical background that we just had handy laying around, but blue sky is number one. This is out of Celestine Prophecy, the movie, but I had a guest who was kicking like wildly intuitive back in the 70s and said people were doing it this way before Celestine Prophecy, and people in India are doing it this way. Not everybody in India, but some are doing it this way. I got to stand to do this, so I'm going to do it the Celestine Prophecy way. Okay, you can see white, gold, green, yellow, blue, 15 colors at once, colors beyond human definition. If it's rainbow light, pause this, run out and buy a lotto ticket, or go for a 20-mile run if you've been shy. It's sing with your heart. Everybody give yourself permission, breathe extra, and one dad joke for everybody. What's the only flower found on the human face? Tulips. And just see a little filament of light, a wisp, consciousness itself. Brent, what are you seeing between my fingers? Is it white, gold, green, one color, two, three?
It's white.
Yay. That's all the colors combined. People play it back. Other shows do it. Brent, if you want, how do I do this? You can just hold your hand up, whether it's on camera or not, it doesn't matter. Breathe, and you can see the light on your fingers if you wish. Do you wish? Yeah, and just breathe through your mouth. No try, but you're going to get a better dad joke. The fruits and vegetables, and ask your favorite figures, maybe from India, Jesus, Mary, Muhammad, Buddha, Ganesh, to help jack your light. So they're turning up the volume. The fruits and vegetables decide to throw a nighttime garden party. They string up the nightlights, hire the best DJ in town. In the middle of the party, an excited carrot jumps up on the picnic table and yells, breathe, breathe, breathe. Let us turn up the beat. It doesn't have to be a good dad joke. It just has to get you breathing and laughing and letting go. And you can see a little bit of light around your fingers. And if anyone wants to think of their best vacation moment, hugging a dog, someone else's dog, you wish it was your dog, that's it. Letting go is letting go, being in your heart's being in your heart. Are you getting a little bit of light on your hands?
I am, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Again, can't blame Canada, but you can't blame me either. I want to get you back on track, though, for the show, and we'll do some figures in a little bit. And if you want, I will put up Sai Baba. He might have a great reminder here, if you don't mind, the divine tiger that the divine mother rides on. Can you get a topic and then take us, because you're really good at taking us somewhere, and just say got it when you got it?
I got it.
Good. What's the topic?
It's the courage to move through the healing process. So, like we ride the tiger. What's relevant to our audience here, if they're listening about Kundalini, is that this process is a healing process. And before we begin a healing process, we may think that healing is easy, right? But it's quite challenging. So courage is a quality of the heart, right? The quality of the heart, the cœur, French word for heart, courage. Many are aware that they're going through healing, but there's fear. I'm afraid of what I'm going to feel. I'm afraid of what I'm going to see. I'm afraid to open those things, those bottles that I've bottled up for a long time. And that's valid, very valid. At our own pace, we cultivate our courage at our own pace, but it has to be cultivated. And we have so much support. We've got the archetype of the tiger to help us for sure. But that's what's coming to me, is the courage to move through the healing process.
Brilliant. I'll show a couple photos. Just light energy form this, and that doesn't do much. Angels or light consciousness coming through. Here's a concert. A lot of angels. A lot of people like to say orbs, so there's an orb community crowd, but this is angels. And it wasn't rain, wasn't humidity. But we'll put up joy. Joy's the pink ball light. The purple, bright purple, is Claire. And there's the pink one, just to do that. We'll get a topic from her in a second. I wanted to do a quote from a NASA astronaut. It's what you just said about the French word for heart. I do speak a little bit of French, or a lot of French. Lived in Paris for a year, but totally feel like I'm going to slaughter. I slaughter all terminology, names, and right now I don't even think I could do my French. Here's the NASA astronaut quote: "Story Musgrave, getting out of the comfortable path. That's what exploration is all about." Can you talk to us about how you've had to be very brave and you've had to keep moving forward? And whether we're talking riding a horse or a tiger, it's ride, ride, ride. Don't look left, don't look right, and don't look back. Can you give us a couple moments where you've had to just keep going forward?
Yeah. So, like I said, once this major Kundalini awakening took place, this major energetic rising, and I entered into the dark night of the soul period, the purification period, the purging period, there was no turning it off. And I had, like you said, I just had to look forward and keep going with courage. And so what I did was I established a safe container within which I could process things. So I wasn't trying to stop the journey or stay in one spot or go back. I said, okay, but I can make uh I can't stop it, but I can make myself comfortable going through it as best as I can. So I just sat in my room, closed the door, turned my phone off, cuddled up in bed, reminded myself, I looked around, I said, I'm safe in here. Nobody's coming to hurt me. I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm okay. And I quite literally, I would keep a glass of water like this. And I just said, you know, if an emotion comes up that doesn't leave
Hmm.
for 2 or 3 days, I'll just keep drinking water and I'll survive.
Hmm.
And of course, the emotions never lasted 2 or 3 days, but I was willing to sit with any emotion, any memory, any feeling in my body for as long as it needed to come up to be released. And so that was the agreement that I set. That was the way that I kept going forward. I said, whatever's coming up, I'll sit with it. I'll love it with my practice. I love you. I'll see it as not a problem, not judging myself for any of my emotions, thoughts, feelings, memories, etc. And like that, I was able to just purge and clear and purge and clear. And believe it or not, most of the experiences, the emotional experiences, on the high end, they may have lasted a half an hour, 1 hour. Then they would go, and I would feel immense relief, feel much more lighter, feel at peace with whatever themes were coming up. So that's how I moved through and kept going like that. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, with the themes, is it once you've dealt with it, it doesn't come back? Or if it does come back, it's only 10% of the size that it once was?
Yeah. So I would say it's the latter. So I would say we process it in layers, in layers. So fortunately, the emotions that we experience, there's only a limited range, right? There's not a million emotions. There's, maybe we could argue maybe like 30 on the high end. So if you were angry about one particular situation in your life, the same anger would probably apply to some other particular situation in your life that seems to be unrelated, but the emotional experience of anger is the same. So if you're able to process and make peace with one of those experiences, it's going to bring up the same emotion that is applying to all of your experiences of anger in the past. And so they get cleared like that. However, we carry a lot of particular emotions, say anger or sadness. We carry a lot of it. So for us to process it all at once, that's a little intense for the nervous system. So it comes up, maybe we'll cry, we'll let it out. We're crying for the time our bike got stolen. We're crying for the time that, we didn't get the job or the relationship or some grief or something. We're crying for all of that. It's all coming out in one purge. It's all getting released. And then we feel a little better. We say, oh, I feel so good. I'm relieved. I'm healed. In the beginning, we may think I'm done. I've cried it all out. I'll never feel sad ever again. I've healed all the sadness. And then in a week, you're crying again. The sadness is coming up. So it's a little bittersweet, right? Because we think, oh, I thought I cried all of this out. Why am I feeling sad again? That's the bitterness. Got to kind of go through it again. But the sweetness is, oh, that means there's even more healing that I can do. So that means I can feel even more lighter and relieved and in a state of love and move more deeply into my, okay, then I'll cry it all out. I'll cry all of it out as many times as necessary until I can get to a point where I've, done the majority of the work. So it happens in layers. That's what I mean by themes. We revisit those themes over and over. But the beauty of it is that the material that we've accumulated throughout our life or lifetimes, it's finite. It's not a bottomless pit. There is actually a point where you can say, you know what, I've healed, I've cleared. And in Buddhism, there are levels of enlightenment at which particular individuals no longer are able to find themselves having ill will, for example. It's because it's been eradicated out of the system. And that's what we're moving towards. We're moving towards eradicating these themes out of our system. And then, of course, with that, there comes insight into the nature of reality, into impermanence, into no self, into suffering in general. So it comes with insight, and eventually we come to a point where, for the most part, we don't move into those negative emotions as often. Though, of course, every now and then they may creep up, and that's okay too. That's okay.
Is that so, Brent? Just trying to make a Zen punny joke. But I know that when I get saturated, if just coming into contact with people, generally speaking, I'm pretty good with boundaries these days. I've got more war stories or peace stories or boundary stories. Like, oh my God, if I had just been doing better boundaries, I would have saved myself, a lot of lessons. On the other hand, I'd argue you need those lessons, what you were saying. So what I was going to say is sage. I do a lot of saging, and that, when my thoughts aren't actually my own, and I'm like, whoa, why am I even at this vibration? It's not typically me. I'm a very enthusiastic person. It's the sage that I use, although I ask for energetic clearing from angels as well. Speaking of angels, I've got a passage for you written by angels. I'd love to get your reaction on this, and here it goes. Should just be about 35 seconds of reading, but it buys you a space to have a little break and some water. Why is being with a capital B the key to all of this? Being is believing in all. You do not need to be like anyone else. Be you. Smile more, think less. Do not permit others to dictate your well-being. Own your own being in life. Love more and allow more. You can be happy now in this very moment without a single reason. Again, this is why it's not about words or concepts, which are often just another form of egoic thinking. Always keep releasing so as to not allow walls to be rebuilt. Ego. What to release exactly is never that important. Those are mere details. Keep releasing. Ego likes to judge everything and build walls. Ego likes to offer knowing as a form of false security. Step away from this and return to a peaceful life. Follow your path in life one step at a time. Enjoy it. Let go of perfectionist or defined behaviors such as roles. Embrace the awesome life given to you in each one of us. Just be. Listen to everything, for everything around you is always your instruction. Love is in everything. Open your eyes to find love. There's only one life, not two. Be in the moment. Compassion is within all too. There are just many levels of awareness in man. Everyone can grow. Let go to expand your own awareness level. See how when you let go, you become lighter and free. Your energy brightens and you feel alive. Believe, trust this is so, and it will be so. This is what faith, religious or non-religious faith, is all about. Not knowing in life while letting go and loving. Lastly, compassion to others happens only when it is first applied by you to yourself to release your ego and embrace more openness and love in the now. Find compassion in all that you see. Breathe compassion into all that you do. Believe in all and be loved to all. And know that angels are here for you always. They were writing this. So what are you going to do? We are here not just to name and action, use us. Can you talk to us about that openness thing, compassion, just going with the flow more, letting the universe do its job? I don't know what the right lingo is, but you've got a way to describe this.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Brilliant. Um, I like to think about this path in terms of bringing attention to the state of our nervous system. And the reason that I say that is because not many uh, spiritual practices or tools bring attention there, and people often overlook the state of their nervous system. And so when people want to say, well, I want my mind to stop thinking so much, I want to be in the moment, and it's often conceptualized as a mind-based exploration or shift that we're trying to make. And there's definitely a major component of the mind, but one way we can look at it is also just feeling what's going on in this body here and now, because the body is always grounded in the present moment. The mind can go past future, go to another planet, another dimension. but the body's here now. The nervous system is here now, and it's waiting for you to feel it. And with sensitivity, we can tune in and we can feel the vibrations of energy flowing through the nervous system. And with enough relaxation, it's quite a soothing feeling. And from there, of course, we're able to offer compassion. If we're dysregulated or in our head, we can't offer much compassion. Compassion is, you could say it's a state of being. And just like, earlier in the beginning of your message there, there's a lot of talk about being. So I would say being is something that's felt, the felt experience of being. Um, we feel that in the nervous system. And that's how we find our way back to being grounded, being energetically balanced. Um, and that's also how we really simplify the spiritual journey as well. We don't need to do any, very complicated meditation or breath work or anything specific and that sort of thing. You just feel what's going on in this body. What are your legs feeling like right now? The legs are very spiritual. There may not be, one of the major chakras there, but the legs are very spiritual. Can you feel into them?
They're
What are you
tired. I
holding
just
there?
ran 5 miles on hilly North San Antonio hills.
And
Sorry.
it must be pretty hot too.
It is very humid these
Yeah.
days. It's summer. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Keep going, Brent. I interrupted. Sorry about that.
No, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Just tuning into the legs, paying attention there. This is how we can really tap into the body, tap into the moment, and we are not even uh necessarily doing any sort of mind-based practice, and we're getting to the same result. The mind quiets on its own if we do that. So this is what I have found. This is what I found.
And I should say they're not as tired as I was making them out to believe because Angels and the crew have had me jumping in a pool for a year. Not literally during the winter; it's shut down, the community pool. But it was cold water today, and it's amazing what you will allow for, what you will get for an outcome or a shift in consciousness or in your body. Because the fatigue did go away by just touching water and being in the pool. So wow. I've got a couple of different quotes for you. Some are classic quotes. This one I think you're going to recognize from India, I believe. A mind that is fast is sick. A mind that is slow is sound. A mind that is still is divine. And then a couple definitions of compassion. I'd love to have you circle back on compassion or just allowing with a capital A or awareness, whatever way you want to slice this. Here's a couple definitions of compassion from Archangel Raphael. Compassion is releasing fears and judgments. Abe, the Abraham of old, an angel on everyone's team. Compassion is not judging, taking action with no thought. An angel named Dale, who's got an Andromeda background. I had my whole world turned upside down after 13 years of this. Different angels are mentioning their origin stories, Pleiades, Andromeda, Orion. Okay, at the end of the day, love is love. Have fun. Dale said, compassion is just being and trusting the outcome to be of the highest intent for all. I think there's probably a trillion definitions of compassion, so you can't go wrong here. Brent, what's your one of your favorite ways of explaining compassion in a different way?
Yeah, so like I was sharing earlier, I like to orient a lot of this process around being of service. So compassion, of course, is a key component of service, right? So I have an interesting story I can tell, but one way I like to think of compassion as being aware of another's suffering, but not suffering ourselves, right? So sometimes we'll watch somebody suffering and it'll cause us to suffer. We feel bad, we feel sorry, we feel frustrated because we can't help them, we can't save them. So now there's two people suffering. But with like real high level compassion, we can acknowledge this person is hurting, they're in pain, but I'm not hurting. The compassion is somehow being able to be fully aware of another's pain but not feel pain yourself. And at sometimes when I feel that, it actually cultivates a deep sense of metta within me. Metta is loving kindness within the Buddhist tradition, metta. So I can be aware of another's pain, another's compassion, another's suffering, and what swells up in me is loving kindness for them. But I also benefit because it feels good to be in that state of loving kindness. So that was a little bit of, I guess, what's coming to me today about compassion. If you ask me tomorrow, it'd be something else probably. But I had one experience on a meditation retreat. I had this really, really intense pain in my glute, pain in my butt. And I couldn't shake it. I couldn't stretch it out. It would, it was really intense, really intense. It felt like I got shot, like I got shot in the butt. And I remember sitting in the meditation and doing every technique I could possibly do, scanning it, dissecting it. I quite literally dissected this pain down with my awareness, like as if I was a knife, down to the subatomic level. I had busted the atoms in it, and you know, saw the empty nature of the pain. I had completely done all of this, everything I could possibly do. And then the moment I had, you know, had to leave the meditation space, the pain would come right back. And so I worked with it for a couple of days. It was very intense pain. And finally, I thought, I haven't tried talking to the pain. So I said, okay, let's try talking to it. I says, okay, I'm listening. Tell me, what's your story? What's your story? And I hear back, everyone has a pain in the butt. Everyone. For some, it's in their mind, it's in their heart, it's something, but everyone has something like this. Compassion for all, compassion for all. And I just kept hearing this resounding compassion for all. Never forget that everyone has their own pain in the butt. And the pain said, I am here and I will stay with you as long as it takes for you to remember that everyone has their own pain in the butt. So from there, I said, okay, thank you. You're my little reminder to never forget or take for granted that someone else's, you know, take for granted someone else's pain. And it was kind of like, you know, that same quote, you know, never forget that everyone is battling their own journey. Be kind to all. That sort of sentiment. So that was my little reminder, you know, remind me, hey, they've got their own pain too. You know, they're sick, they're stressed, there's this going on, there's that going on. Compassion for all, compassion for all. And yeah, so that was a little story about compassion and my butt, I guess, you know.
I love it. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And it's Plato. You can see the old man's face. We'll maybe bring him up after some angels and India figures and get just, you know, one-liners or something from them. But you can see the old man's face in there, and no hugs for him. They're sweaty, just fist pump tap on the shoulder. But he said, I don't remember much, but this is one of those quotes, and I skipped half my Plato reading at Middlebury College in Vermont, and I get ribbed about it even today. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle than you. And only if you're doing compassion in your heart can you understand why that's applicable and it applies to you, because otherwise it's my situation is, my problem is, my drama. And we all know it's supposed to be more no drama, just drama. Okay, I'll put up an angel for you, Joy. We'll do a couple angels and then a couple of India figures. And if you want to have a Pleiadian come in named Heinrich Eric A, you can, but it's more syllables in his world that we would never get. So that's the name we've been given. Here's Joy. She's unconditional love. And any which way you want to do it. If you want to put your hand up and feel her vibe, she'll remind you of a topic or what am I supposed to say? A beautiful quote that'll get you going. And definitely get a flower smell in the air. If you're at home, breathe extra, no triota, always try Archangel Gabriel. It's not about words, and yeah, the ebb and flow is going to come in. Don't try. Don't worry about this. And Brent, what are you getting for all of us from Joy? From you and Joy?
She's saying it's all good. It's all good.
I love it. And here's a Charlotte, everybody's favorite school teacher from third form. If it was Mrs. Johansson, not the one who got you in trouble. Not that you were ever in trouble, but the nice teacher everybody remembers from childhood. And she's got ancient Egypt in her too. If anybody likes ancient Egypt, catch that incense smell from thousands of years ago. Allow, allow, allow. And what are you getting?
No growth without challenge.
That was brilliant. One more angel, Plato, and then some India figures. Here's Min, light waves of energy and water, Pacific princess. If anyone saw Moana, she was the one at the beginning of the movie that would have pushed the ocean back so the little girl stayed dry to pick up the conch shells. And Min is the Lakota Sioux word for water. Awala is a Polynesian morning glory vine. What are you getting from her?
Just let it all flow.
Oh, dude, you're good. Plato, he's always crisp and clear. He can talk about life stages, but maybe you can talk about life stages as a concept. I can do it from another angel who once said, life's filled with many missions, but when one's complete, more opportunities come in for growth. Like, you're never done. There's people who want to try to get all their lessons done in one weekend, one retreat. Good luck with that. Growth and expansion never stop, but let's let Plato do the talking and you do the listening. If anybody needs help at home, breathe more through the mouth or through the nose. Either way, shoulders heave ho. And if you need to close your eyes, do it. You'll get a little bit of light on your eyes. But here's some beautiful words. You just have to relax. It's like driving a car for the first time. Some people freak out and some people are totally enthusiastic and still driving into a building. What do you got from Plato?
Curiosity is the way.
Dude, and that is so true. I love that I just said dude. Whoops. Okay. I have Sri Shirdi Sai Baba for you, colorized photo. Love this photo. Oh my God. And he's Mr. Miracles from India. And I just it's the problem of having too many photos. Okay. Folks at home, you can have them move, wink, smile. What else can a photograph not do? Shoulder waggle, hands, you'll figure it out. But a great chance to identify your thinking, your mind, your ego. The brain's going to say, the intellect's going to say, no way, Jose, that didn't just happen. And the heart's like, ooh, pretty, do it again. So here's Sai Baba. And can you get a past reveal that one time you tipped that cow and it was angels helping you take a step forward? Not that we tipped any cows, but can you have a flashback to a time in your life where you were actually being more supported than you would have ever realized? They were right there. What'd you get?
I didn't get any words. I got a transmission of silence. Yeah.
There's no, yeah. Yes. Love it. I have one more figure for you. I'm going to do Audrey Hepburn, Angel, classic Hollywood actress. If you're super young, you can look her up. But Breakfast at Tiffany's was a wonderful movie. She's high vibe. This is another one of those photos that you'll get a wink, a smile. Anybody who wants an uninvented perfume from Paris, catch it in the air. She's absolutely high vibe. You can hear her words. It's incredible. And breathe extra. No try at home. What are you getting, Brent?
A sentiment of wellness, relaxation. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, I'm going to read a quote about healing. There's a million of these quotes, like just being a listening presence or a presence or cultivating your own authentic inner awareness or authenticity, your power within. Just being helps others do what they need to do and to be themselves. So here's one way to say it, or two ways. A true healer kindles the power already within another. And then here's another way to say it. And I think this may be from, well, I'm going to skip who I think it's from because I'm not going to get it right. A healer is someone who's able to raise their frequency to connect to the source, light energy, while keeping themselves clear and fully connected. They use this elevated frequency to help others directly or indirectly. Can you talk about what it is you do currently in your practice versus where you suspect it may be going? I am going to cheat and get you two Native American figures so that if you said, I wouldn't mind it expanding in this direction, doing more of this, because you've got a presence about you. Here's Dull Knife, two unconditional love spirit guides. Dull Knife, who's wisdom with some humor, and Red Shirt, the gentlest mom in the world. He's compassion, 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 soft spoken. Here's something about your own healing path ahead. None of us are stagnant. I mean, we try our best for years and decades at a time, maybe even 3 lifetimes, to not go to the one place where everything happens in life, all the love. That's our heart. And Dull Knife once said, I'm buying Brent time to just take it all in, sipping it like cognac or wine. Dull Knife once said, life is a feast, partake. Good luck with that. We all do a lot of thinking. And are you feeling these guys pretty intensely?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yay.
Pretty
Okay.
pretty powerful.
Yeah, with that, everyone's path as a healer, helping others, always expands. Talk to us about what you know, where it was a little bit before, how it's shifted in the last, I don't know, 2 months, 6 months, 2 years, and then where you wouldn't mind seeing some more expansion. What can the universe also, help you with down the road? Where do you want to take us on you as a healer for others? And we're going to use the capital H on healer. You're doing stuff for folks.
Right. So, part of my work is to acknowledge, like I said, this Kundalini force is intelligent, it is compassionate, and it's within each individual. So, the way that I see it, I work with people to remind them of what's already going on within their system. So, I wouldn't say that I am doing any healing. I understand the context of being a healer. Sure, I could say I'm a healer, but the way that I heal is I remind people that there's already something else doing it. Just get out of the way, collaborate, trust, surrender. Um, that's what I've been told and shown. So my work is to empower others to go forth on their journey. And in some respects, if people that work with me uh, go forth and I never hear from them again, that's in a sense it could be a success because they've figured it out and they're on their way. So that's how I like to work, to get people in touch with the innate uh, inner healer, which is very precise, very exact, very safe. It knows the right time, the right intensity, the right everything, right? Whereas, maybe we may go to a healer, and sometimes there are very powerful energy healers, for example, who can do incredible work, but sometimes they can really give people a huge jolt, and that can be a little intense for their nervous system to process. Whereas what's going on internally, if it's cultivated safely, we get the right amounts that we need. So that's my work as a healer. Lately, is just to remind people of the innate, Kundalini Shakti within them, the healer. Over time, my work has evolved. In the very beginning, when you first discover the path, you first discover mindfulness and meditation. Some people, myself definitely, become very overzealous about it. You want to force people meditate. It's what you have to do, and read these books and do this. And they come with you and say, "I'm stressed," or this. Yeah, it's because you don't meditate. So I've moved far beyond that sort of approach as a healer, as a young innocent healer, as so many of us travel that segment of the journey for sure. But now it's honoring others' journey and recognizing that they're all moving at the right pace for them, and sometimes that means um, you know um, suffering provides context for growth, and so we don't also want to immediately relieve everyone of their suffering if we could, because suffering is a great teacher as well. So we honor the unfolding of everyone's journey. Because if I look back, maybe there was some great healer that I could have gone to, who could have relieved my depression and anxiety when I was a young teenager, but then I wouldn't have discovered the path. And
Hmm.
so the worst thing anybody could have ever done to me would be to have taken that depression and anxiety away. Right. So now I don't want to do that for someone else too. So I trust in the innate healer within, who knows exactly what's necessary for that person, what their destiny is, what they're meant to do here. And so I just, my work is to point people back within themselves. Yeah.
So I was watching some sports commentators, a running competition, probably a marathon somewhere, and a commentator once said, "Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want." And I was like, "Oh my God, that was like straight out of a self-help book." What's one of your favorite expressions that helps you stay the course and do what you do daily, or to keep moving forward and not look back? What's one of your favorite mantras or expressions?
Yeah, I like no mud, no lotus, right? Looking for the growth in any and every challenge or difficulty, and it's always growth. Um, there is, they say that there's the suffering that teaches you how to move beyond suffering. And so that's what I always try and remember whenever there's something that comes up, something difficult. Almost, I've done a pretty good job, though I'm not perfect, done a pretty good job to immediately say, okay, what am I learning here? What can I learn? What am I seeing? What am I developing here? And sometimes it's just maybe some pain or some sickness. And I say, well, I'm being reminded of what other people feel. See, very easy to forget how people suffer when they're sick when we're not sick. It's very easy. The moment we get sick, we're like, oh man, people live like this all the time. Oh wow, these people that are really hurting. So I try and remember that, no mud, no lotus. What is the lesson here? What is the growth here? How is this helping me to evolve? So those are some of my mantras, my perspectives that I try and pull out as early as I can when something difficult arises.
Uh, can you ask Joy if I've got permission, and if you'll give me permission to do the following? I've done it with some guests. I'll put a hand up, only my highest intent in Texas. You put a hand up, only your highest intent in Ontario. We'll feel each other's high vibe, but we're going to blame angels actually in the universe for having a high connecting vibe. Whoosh you 3 times with rainbow light, low, medium, and a lot. But here's Joy just to hear it's groovy, okay, and cool. At home, people can do this, but only your highest intent, as well as setting up extra boundaries for the years to come, and millions of folks eventually doing this. It's really angels riding shotgun here. We'll say it differently. Riding on the stagecoach next to you. So with your permission, just the highest intent, feel what you can feel. Could be cool, could be whirly, it could be sparkly. What are you feeling in Ontario, Brent?
Nice, warm, bubbly feeling.
Yay. I'm going to do whooshing with rainbow light, but again, it's angels. I'll even blow through the microphone. You can have Hawaii, Maui, just a beautiful ocean breeze. At some point, you can shut your eyes at home if you want. The first one's low, so, just feel what you feel, but there's a Kundalini aspect, which is what I'm like trying to get to. You can get a whoosh up your back. I think it's supposed to go from below up through the chakra and, more. Yeah, so allow for what you can allow for. Here it goes. And did you feel something?
Yeah, nice cool breeze moving through my system.
Yay. Okay,
Mhm.
medium. And if it's been a long week, a long month, you got a marathon ahead or just a project, or you got an interview, 2 guests in one day later. Whoops, for scheduling. Okay, here it comes, medium. A little bigger, a little whooshier.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, last one, go big, go home. You're probably already home, but you got a fancy studio, maybe an office building.
Mhm.
Okay, here we go. And how was that?
Nice. Felt that one move right through my head, right through the crown.
Yay. Okay. Last little bit from you to us on is love the fabric of the universe, and where do you want to take us for a closeout? I mean, look, you're a professional show host. You've got an incredible show. You know how to close these things out. You're super sage, and you're still learning, which is incredible. So, yay. What's this all about? Alfie is love the fabric of the universe. Let's start there.
Yeah, love the fabric of the universe. I would say so. Yeah. So in my journey, like I said, I had this practice that I learned from Matt Kahn, the practice of I love you. I love you. And one time I asked the universe intuitively, what is love? And I heard back, love is divinity recognizing divinity. So it's the same as namaste. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Right? It's very easy for you and I to say namaste to each other. Right? We're having a good time, we're vibing, it's easy. I thought, okay, well, what about loving a dark thought, a dark emotion? I could, namaste to that thought. I see you. The light in me sees the light in you, the dark thought, the dark emotion, the pain. I love you. I love the sadness, this grief, this memory coming up to be purged. So this is what I did. I said, I love you. I love you. I love you. I see you. All is part of the oneness here in existence. All is part of the divine spectrum of light. All is part of the same one fabric of the universe, and that's love. So what I found was that the most powerful spiritual healing perspective was to stop considering that there were some things that weren't God here. It's all God, including the most violent, uncomfortable, dark, negative emotions, thoughts, feelings, pain, etc. It's all God. There's nothing that's not God. It's all one. It's all consciousness. It's all the universe. So recognizing that is love. And I find that it's an active process. We can take the passive process, the passive approach, which is not resisting. That's very powerful, not resisting. But I like to go one step further, and rather than just not resisting, embracing. Come here, come closer. I want to hold you, negative thought, pain, emotion, memory. I want to hold you and see you like that. And I found that to be just exponentially more transformative for healing. And so, yes, I would agree that love is the fabric of the universe. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, I do have one last really cute, easy, soft, what am I trying to say? Little two sentences to read. And then I want to get your reaction to it and advice. If you could think of a mantra for a t-shirt, very American here, or a bumper sticker, but you know, if it's longer and it won't fit on a t-shirt, great. But leave us with a final, maybe if we said it, our vibration would be one with the universe or angels or Sai Baba, whoever. And we just do something like I love you, Matt Kahn style, like you said before. Okay, here's the quote. Sometimes the person next to you or a stranger just needs validation via love and compassion. A smile changes any moment. So too does laughter or a few kind words. Be compassion to all. Do it.
I love that. Yeah.
So what's kind of parallel? Because again, you've got a patented style. And so what would be your last little sign off to the sign off?
Yeah. So I think the story of the pain in my butt, I think that was a pretty good way if we close it off here. So compassion for all, compassion for all. And those that are on this path, it seems quite obvious to me that we're all being called in the direction of service in some way or another. Just like you, Michael, are doing some incredible service work, such an inspiration. If we can do our best to orient ourselves around these themes of service, compassion, and of course, that all begins with ourselves, compassion towards ourselves, right? Service towards ourselves. Then it translates over into others because we're going through Kundalini awakening, not for anything other than to be of service. Because what happens with this process is we realize that we're all interconnected. And the only next logical step is to serve. So that's what we're here to do. That's what I'm here to do. Um, and I really, really appreciate this opportunity, Michael, to reach out to your audience and to, once again, spread my message about the spiritual awakening journey, about Kundalini and how it's valid, And I really appreciate your openness to, give me a chance to speak and share. I really enjoy this, and I'm looking very much forward to having you on my show because I'm very curious about how this all came together for you. What was it like? How did you become so in touch with so many, great figures, the angels especially? I'm very curious. So stay tuned for the Spiritual Awakening Show's episode with Michael.
Oh, absolutely. And thank you for the invite. Yes, yes, yes. And then don't forget, check out brentspirit.com. Brent is hyper organized with how he's set everything up. Again, he's got a lot of free material, but incredible guests, incredible talks, and he's paying close attention to your sensitivity as energies come in or energies within you start to just merge with the universe. And so he's there to help you through the process in a compassionate, gentle way, as you've already witnessed on the show. Brent, you're amazing. I love hearing you speak. I'm going to make an invite to you when we get off in a second. We'll maybe be having you back on much sooner, so people will see this in reverse order. But thank you for being on the APL show. Thank you from Toronto. Brent Spirit, you've been awesome. Thank you for being on the show.
And thank you. And to your audience as well, thank you all so much. This was a great opportunity. Thank you.